Here we're going to look at number 23 from section 2.3, and we're given some information about a function u and a function v evaluated at 0. We have u of 0 is 5, u prime of 0 is -3, v of 0 is -1, and v prime of 0 is 2. And in parts A, B, C, and D on 23, we are given some function made up of u and v. In part A, we have u times v. C and or B and C, we have quotients of u over v and v over u. And then D is a linear combination of v and u. In each of these, we want to differentiate and then evaluate at 0. Differentiate and evaluate at 0. So let's start with part A. We have u times v, so the derivative is going to be found with the product rule. So we're going to look at u times v prime plus v times u prime. That's the product rule there. The first times the derivative of the second plus the second times the derivative of the first, and then all of these evaluated at 0. So this is going to be u of 0 times v prime of 0 plus v of 0 times u prime of 0. And then we're just going to plug in the numbers that we have from information given in the question stem. U of 0 is 5, v prime of 0 is -1, plus, actually v prime of 0 is 2. I misread that one. So let's go over here. V prime of 0 is 2. Then plus v of 0, there's our -1, and then u prime of 0 is -3. So this gives us 10 plus 3 for an answer of 13. Let's go to part B. This is a quotient of u and v. So we're going to use the quotient rule for our derivative. So we have the bottom times the derivative of the top minus the top times the derivative of the bottom all over the bottom squared. As we talked about in class, my old calculus teacher called this low d high minus high d low over low squared. And then we're going to evaluate each of these at 0. I'm going to skip this second line that I did in part A. We're going to assume this means v of 0, u prime of 0, u of 0, v prime of 0. So here we go. V of 0 is -1, u prime of 0 is -3, minus u of 0 is 5, and v prime of 0 is 2. This is all over v of 0 squared. V of 0 is -1, so this is -1 squared. Then we have, what, 3 minus 10 over -1 squared is 1. So this should turn out to be, in part B, -7. Let's go to C. This is a quotient rule again, but we have flip-flopped the numerator and denominator. So we have the bottom times the derivative of the top minus the top times the derivative of the bottom all over the bottom squared. All of those evaluated at 0. So u of 0 is 5, v prime of 0 is 2, minus v of 0 is -1, and then u prime of 0 is -3. This is all over u of 0 squared. U of 0 is 5, so we've got 5 squared. That gives us 10 minus 3 over 25 for an answer of 7/25. And then finally, the derivative of 7v minus 2u, that's going to be 7v prime minus 2u prime by the constant multiple rule. And then if we evaluate at 0, this is 7v prime of 0 minus 2u prime of 0, or 7 times, let's see, v prime of 0 is 2, minus 2 times u prime of 0 is -3, and that gives us 14 plus 6, which is 20, and that's our result for number 23.